Hey there everyone, welcome back to the Dan Cave and welcome to another video build, and this time it's the 25th scale Dodge Viper GTS. Yes, GTS from Revell. This was built a couple of years back. It was originally built as a group build following the passing of a friend of mine and a friend of our community back then, Tracy Fogelston. So the footage has sat around on a hard drive for the last couple of years, so I thought it was about time it got basically edited into a video. So it's a fairly short build, kind of covers all the key bits of this build. Well, let's find out how it went anyway. So without further ado, let's head on over. Actually, before we go, if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe. Please like the video. Please leave a comment down below. So let's head on over to the bench and see how this video build went.
So it is, of course, straight in with those usual starting place for most car kits, which is going to be the body colour parts, the overall body shell itself, a little bit of clean up, some seam lines around the rear pillar, some witness marks in and around the top of the roof as well, just where the mould would have joined together. So a little bit of work with some UMP sanders, and that easily cleans them up, and it's straight on over to spray booth to start priming the kit with UMP grey primer, all shots through the UMP Apex airbrush. So probably 3 coats of grey goes down, dries to a nice dark grey finish, and will form a good base for the metallic colour that's going to go on top, which is a paint I picked up, just like the look of it, thought I'll use on some project in the future, but we'll get to that. All those coats of grey go down, left to cure for 24 hours, and then it's this Gravity Spain colour of Jaguar Jasper Racing Green, which is a lovely green metallic colour, which will go down lovely over the UMP grey. So of course, lacquer paint going over acrylic paint, absolutely fine. Just build up those coats slowly, just don't let the hot thinners of the lacquer paint eat into the underlying acrylics, and it'll be absolutely fine. Don't believe people that say you can't paint lacquers over acrylics. This course proves that you can. So again, slowly building up the coats of this green, goes down very, very well over the grey. The metallic flakes in this paint are absolutely spot on as well. As you can see, a few coats in, that green is beginning to darken and darken. You can see the lovely metallic finish, but it really does capture the essence of a typical British racing green colour, which I thought was an unusual colour to put on a Viper, which is why they seemed to match up ever so nicely. The stars aligned, shall we say, for this one to be built in this colour. So once that's had about 24 hours curing, plenty of time for that to nicely cure, it's time to go back and add the stripe decals. So going for the white stripes over the metallic green. Usual process with the decals, warm water, a little bit of hot air, and some UMP decal solution, so normal, strong and extra strong if necessary. Although Revell decals these days are very, very good, so tends to just react very well to normal. Sometimes a little bit of strong is needed, certainly around the edges. And then sometimes the extra strong is just where, where the decal is maybe curved over an edge or has to sit into a panel line, just to give it that final little bit of a melt into the surface features of the kit. But these decals go on absolutely fine. And as usually the case with Revell these days, all their decals are provided by Cartograph or another Italian company, I can't think of the name of them, but all their decals are very, very good. Certainly on the car kits at least. So careful placement of the Viper GTS logo. Use a cotton bud just to rule out any excess moisture. Check the stripes are aligned. That's looking pretty good. And again, check the fit on the rear and the alignment on the rear as well. So with all that done, that's left to cure for 24 hours, and it's time to do the 2K clear. So once again, it's Gravity Spain 2K clear, so 3 coats of Gravity Spain will be done. First coat is a tack coat, a very light coat, just to basically get a nice adherent layer that the subsequent coats are going to stick to, which will give you the real gloss colours. So this first coat is generally light. You just want a nice good coverage. You don't have to worry about getting it nice and smooth. It's just there to make sure that the rest of the coats have something to stick to, because that'll be put away for about 10 minutes. We'll come back and do the second coat, put away for another 10 minutes, and then with this third and final coat, which is where we'll get the perfect gloss finish. And this is the stage where generally what you see is what you're going to get as a clear coat finish. So you want to make sure you have no orange peel, no blemishes. You might get some dust, there's not much you can do about that. So that 2K finish is set aside, that'll be left for a week or so, and I can crack on with things like the chassis, the running gear, the engine, lots of priming. On a kit like this, certainly with lots of engine parts, it's got a detailed engine, plenty of running gear, most things are going to get primed in UMP black. As you can see on some of the parts where they've got slight yellow, they would have been chrome originally and that would have been stripped in bleach. And then we can come in and prime them in UMP black in preparation for their subsequent metallic colours. So brake discs, of course, as well, they're going to get primed in UMP black. If you want a really strong metallic finish, you can of course use UMP gloss black as well. But for things like engines, just the UMP standard black is absolutely fine. Using Alclad dark aluminium as the main colour for the engine. Nice dark metallic base. Following on from that, I'll then pick out the details. Sometimes with brush paint, as I'm about to demonstrate here. So here on the belts for the engine, I'm just picking out the pulleys with some Revell Aqua acrylic paints and a paintbrush. Once all those paints are nicely cured, I can then add a wash. I'm using the UMP water-based wash this time. So the UMP water-based washes are absolutely brilliant. Go straight down, cover your model in them, and you can wipe off the excess with some water and a damp cotton bud. So for the interior parts, I'm going to flock the interior areas. So I'm using very old Humbrol, I think it's a gloss varnish I'm using. Provide basically a nice sticky base that a flocking powder is going to be added to. I'm using an anthracite flocking powder, so not quite a pure black. Just for that nice dark interior to contrast that beautiful green colour. And as you can see, it gives a nice carpet effect. I always go back and forth between flocking and embossing powder. Sometimes flocking can look not too realistic, but it looks okay on this particular Viper. So all the interior parts, there's a few decals to go on, so things like the Viper logo that goes on the seats, the speaker covers that go on the door cards, the dashboard itself. So all those interior and running gear parts can be done and set aside. Now that the 2K is fully cured, I can come back in and now flatten back that 2K using some God hand sponges. So I normally go through 4, 6, 8 and 10. If it's a very good 2K, I'll probably start with 6. If there's some blemishes like dust marks, I'll start with the 4. This one came out absolutely lovely, so I start with the 6. And all I'm doing is just basically knocking down any high points on the clear gloss. Just flattens it back, gives it a much nicer finish. Once I've gone through the 10,000 grit as well, I'll use the UMP polishing compounds to bring back that beautiful gloss finish. So as you can see here, I'm doing it by hand. I've kind of gone back and forth in recent builds on between doing it by hand and using a rotary tool. I am finding the rotary tool very, very good. But depending on the shape and how the kind of shapes and areas to get to go together, you still might have to do some areas by hand. But some of the bigger areas I've now moved to using machine polishing. But this one was done completely by hand. So after the main polishing compound, the kit is then washed. Then we go back in and do the polish stage, which will bring back that beautiful gloss finish. So once that's completed, there are some areas that need to be painted in semi-gloss black. Front fender area, front bulkhead, window trims, those kind of areas. So everything is masked up, not neatly sealed with some masking tape and some cling film. And then it's over to the spray booth to lay down a couple of coats of semi-gloss black. And I think I'm using X18 from Tamiya thinned with UMP thinners. That's also used to do the interior of the windscreen. The masks were made by hand, no masking set came with the kit. And then for some of the vents on the bonnet, I'm just going to do those by hand because it's probably easier than masking them. And the same on the rear where there's some vents. So I'll just paint in some black and then remove any of the excess. Because it's acrylic, I can remove the excess just using a cotton bud with a little bit of water in this case, as the paint is not fully cured. Much easier than trying to mask it up. So again, those parts can be set aside, and then I can get on with assembling the engine, running gear, adding brake discs, suspension parts, adding the engine itself and transmission into the lower part of the chassis. And then check that the interior tub fits over the engine and gearbox. Which it does, but it's not glued in place because it actually glues into the underside of the body, which we'll see a little bit later. So with all that done, it'll be on to basically final assembly now. Windscreen parts slot in just like so. Very careful using any CA glue to attach these clear parts. Try not to use any kicker because it can fog the parts very quickly. The interior tub is then glued in place. And what you might see and might notice, and actually in the final photos, this is the downside of flocking powder. A lot of it gets stuck to the inside of the clear parts through static electricity. Now, after the photos were taken, it was an easy fix to blow it back out again. But it is one of the annoying features of flocking powder because it gets everywhere. But nonetheless, all the parts are assembled together. Chassis, engine and running gear are then inserted into the main body and tub. Or at least I attempt to do that. Usually there's a little bit of manipulation just to get these parts into place. It's always worth going very slowly because you don't want to break things, you don't want to scratch paintwork. Just constantly check for where things are fouling. But once those parts are in, things like the rocker covers can be added. The intake manifold on top of the engine, that will get added as well. And that of course is probably where the actual bonnet will probably actually foul its fitment a little bit later. But nonetheless, it's still worth leaving the bonnet loose. As you can look at that gorgeous massive V10 engine that went into these Dodge Vipers. So bit by bit it's all coming together very nicely. The wheels are simple push fit, they go straight on with absolutely no problems. They were painted a much earlier part of the build sequence. The kit wheels are alright, they're not fantastic, but they look okay. Everything's beginning to come together. That bonnet part can now slot in, and this is where it's quite noticeable that there's a little bit of a gap at the front, which is of course where I think it's actually the intake manifold and parts of the engine that are fouling. But nonetheless, do the final clean up, do the final wipe down, give the paintwork a final bit of a wax, and then take its final photos. So I'm really pleased with how this came out. It was built, this was built 18 months, 2 years ago. I'm still very, very happy with the finish I got on this. I absolutely love that green colour that went onto it. Very simple, straightforward build. Reasonably good kit from Revell. So, as you can see, some of that flocking is clearly visible on the inside of those front and rear screens. That has been addressed after the pictures were taken. But nonetheless, I am happy with how this has all come out. So let's head back on over to me for my final thoughts about how this build has gone.
So there we have it. That's the 25th scale Dodge Viper GTS from Revell, done and dusted. So as you can see, I mean, there's a reasonable amount of detail. There's a good amount of kind of engine detail, transmission. The shape of the car itself looks very good. The bodywork's pretty good, fairly clean, not too much clean up, not much flash or anything like that. I think the biggest complaint with the kit is once you get it all together, that kind of bonnet part doesn't quite fit as well as maybe it should, which is a little bit disappointing? I suppose it is really. Could have done some more dry fitting maybe to figure out what would have caused those clashes and what causes those issues. It's bound to be the intake headers for the engine. That'll be the main clash point, because when it was just the bodywork, it all fits together seamlessly. Once you start adding in the engine, a few bits probably sits a little bit too high and just kind of pops that bonnet up a little bit. So, but I want to leave the bonnet removable so we could have a look at the engine. So yeah, it's just kind of left propped on there with a little bit of a gap, but that's absolutely fine. It was a relatively quick build, and as I said earlier, a little bit of a tribute and great build for Tracy Fogelson, who sadly passed away back in 2023. So yeah, so there we have it. That is the Dodge Viper done. So that's me done. So in this quick video build, that's me done. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like the video. Please leave a comment down below, and I'll see you all very, very soon. So bye bye for now.